Impressionist artists were painters of light and movement. This week we're learning about Edgar Degas. Degas was a painter who really enjoyed painting dancers. Ballet was very popular at the time, so he created paintings to show movement of the ballerinas. This week we're going to learn how to show movement in a picture of an athlete. So you can decide what kind of athlete you want to draw. What kind of sports are you interested in? Do you like to figure skate or dance? You can decide what kind of athlete you want to draw. In the demonstration, I'm going to show how to use curved lines and shapes to show movement in a picture to help the viewer see the movement of the athlete and help them understand what is happening in the picture. It would be to find a picture of an athlete. So I just went to Google and looked up the word athlete, and it comes up with mostly a bunch of runners. There's a tennis player, and you can choose one of these. You can also look up here. It gives you some options of different kinds of athlete. So you can look at basketball players, whatever you want to. It can be, maybe it's a athlete that you really like. So I know Miss Vraybeck really likes LeBron James. So you can look up a specific athlete, or you can look up a specific kind of sport. But make sure that your picture shows some movement. So this one only shows half of his body. I would not recommend this one, but it does show some movement. We can tell he's leaning forward, and it looks like he's about to reach up and grab the ball. So find one that has a full body. These are still only half of a body. This one would be pretty good because you can see his feet and his head, got his whole body in there. You can tell he's running. So after you find a good picture, it's time to draw. So keep your computer screen on, put your notebook nearby, and you can get started drawing. I want to start with the head, but I need to make sure that I can fit everything on my paper. So I'm not going to draw it too big. I also don't want it to be too small because we are going to share these in class, and if your picture is too small, it's kind of hard to see. We're going to focus on using some curved lines. So obviously the head is an oval shape. I see an ear, so I can add a little ear over here. I'm using a marker so that it's a lot easier for you to see this video. But if you're using a pencil, of course, you'll have the power to erase your lines that you don't want. I'm going to move on to the neck and shoulders that are connected to his head. So I see his shoulders about here. Using curved lines, I don't want him to look like a stiff robot or a scarecrow. I want him to look like he's in the middle of movement, because he is in the picture that I see. His arm on this side is sort of going out away from his body, and then the elbow right here is bending and his arm is coming back because it looks like he's running, and he's also dribbling the ball with this hand. So I'm going to curve his arm back in, and I'm just going to draw like a basic hand shape. Kind of looks like he's wearing a mitten, but I'm not too worried about my details right now. I'm just trying to draw some curving lines to show that he's moving. His arm goes back. We're making a shape for the arm, not just a line. So we're not going to have stick people right now. We're going to have shape people. There's an arm, and his body is straightforward, but you can tell he's sort of bending right here. There's kind of like a big curved line from his foot to his head. His foot is not directly underneath his head. There's a little bit of a curve. So I can make his body kind of start to curve down this way. So I'm going to keep drawing the line that goes from about his armpit down to his foot right here. Kind of how I see it. So it goes through the hand behind it. And then this would be about where his knee is. So I'm going to make his leg like that. And then we see his foot. We can tell his leg is bent, and we kind of don't see the shin of his leg because he's running. So you can draw a little foot here. Here's his foot. And then he's wearing shorts. You can draw the line where you see the shorts over his leggings or his tights. And then the other leg right here has the line for his shorts again, comes up to his hip, and then his leg is, you see this curved line here on the outside where his calf muscle would be, so you can make curved lines where you see them. I'm asking you to look for these lines and shapes, curved lines and shapes. And then his other foot is on the floor. And I should make his 2 feet about the same size. So I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. And I'm going to color that in black anyway, so it's okay if you've got a couple of mistakes in here. So I left off with his hip right there. On the computer, it's right here. That's where the basketball is, so I can make a big circle for that. And then draw his fingers on the ball. We can see all 4 of the fingers right here. And then his thumb is on top of the ball. And then we don't really see his forearm. It's behind the ball in this picture. So we'll just continue drawing the top part of his arm. And then you can draw the other details. All right, I want to show you a second method for drawing a person in movement. So on the drawing that you see here, I have a person kind of made with bean shapes. So I mean beans kind of like you can see on this can here. So like rounded, oval kind of shapes. And I'm going to quickly draw this picture one more time. I'm drawing the athlete that you see on the screen, the person who is running and jumping. And I think this shows a lot of good movement, especially in her spine and her back. So you can see it's curved. She's moving forward with her leg. This leg was jumping, so you can see it's bent. And then her arms are helping her balance and also helping her gain some speed. So I started with an oval for her head. And I'm going to draw the details after I draw all of the main parts. Then I'm going to draw the long curve that I see for her back. So her neck kind of starts about right here. I'm going to draw a curved shape and make it into kind of like that bean kind of shape. Her arm comes out right about here. So it's a little bit short on the top part because it's coming toward us. And then her arm is reaching forward. I'm just going to make an oval for her hand. The arm behind her, you can't really see the top part, but you can see the bottom part of her arm reaching behind her, and her hand is going up. The hand here is going kind of down. This hand is going up a little bit. The leg that is going in front of her, sort of reaching up toward her arm, and then the bottom part of her leg is reaching out, and then her foot is reaching up, and it is curving a little bit up. So I'm looking back and forth at this picture and my paper, and then the leg that is closer to us, and we can tell that because of the way that her shorts look on the picture. leg is kind of coming down and out a little bit, so it looks a little bit short. And then it's straight across like that. So I just made these bean shapes and kind of overlapped them to help show some movement. After I have all of that, I can erase some of these lines. I'm using a marker, so I can't erase it, but you can erase any lines that you don't want. Add in the details, so like I'm gonna add in her clothing here, her shorts, top. You can add in some details like I see her thumb here, her fingers are kind of curved in, she's making a fist. Same thing in the front, her hand is kind of curved like that. You can add her sunglasses, and her ear, her hair, nose, mouth, and then you can color in her shoes too. So after you've got all of your main parts, you can color in, and then there's other details you can add, like what she's jumping over. So the bar that she's jumping over lines up kind of about with the middle of her leg. That adds a little bit of interest to her picture. It tells a story about what she's doing, why she's doing that. You can add the track behind her, so that's you can kind of see it going up into the distance, and that's right below her leg. And then there's some lines that you can draw to show the placement markers where the runners would line up. And one last thing we see in the scene is a crowd of people that are behind her. There's some grass here too, so you can add those lines as you see them. Then this would be the stadium full of people. To summarize what I just taught you how to do, first you're going to find a picture of an athlete. It can either be a specific athlete that you like, such as LeBron James, or it could be an athlete that you find a picture of that you want to draw. So I just looked up athlete on Google and found a picture of this runner. The second thing you're going to do is draw what you see. What is that athlete doing, and where do you see movement in the picture? So you should be looking for the curved lines on the athlete's body. So the parts of their body that are showing the most movement. On this one, we see a big curved line along the sides of LeBron James' body. We see one leg is bent because he's running forward. His arm is bent forward because he's dribbling the basketball. On this one, we see her legs and arms are bent. This one is going straight forward because she's jumping. You can decide if you want to draw the outline of the figure, so the outline of the person you're drawing. That's what I did when I drew LeBron James. I drew the outline of what I saw, and I was trying to make those lines as accurate as possible. So I was using a lot of curved lines like this. You could also, instead of drawing lines, you could draw the shapes that you see. So curved kinds of shapes. And here's an example of some of those shapes that you might see when you're drawing a person. So on the example I have here, I saw the curved line of her spine, and I kind of made it into one long shape for her whole upper body. I made a shape for each part of her leg and her arms, her head, her feet, her hands. So you can turn the different parts of her body into these curved kind of bean shapes. After you have done with your drawing, color it, and we will show our drawings to each other during our meeting on Wednesday.